You are wasting your life, and you don't even see it. Right now, as you sit there, something terrifying is happening. Your time is running out. Not in some distant, abstract way. You are actively losing seconds you will never get back. And what are you doing with them? Scrolling, complaining, overthinking? Be honest. How many of your days have looked exactly the same? How many mornings have you woken up feeling stuck, knowing you were meant for more but never doing anything about it? This is your wake-up call. The next 60 minutes could either be the most important of your life or just another wasted hour. That choice is yours. But if you stay, if you really listen, I promise you one thing: you will never see life the same way again. Are you ready? Let's begin. You already know what's been happening. Your mind has been stealing time from you. It has been working against you in ways you haven't even noticed. Every hesitation, every moment of doubt, every excuse that keeps you from doing what needs to be done, it all comes from within. This is the silent war you've been fighting. It's been happening in the background, so quietly that you've mistaken it for logic, for reason, for the truth. But it has been nothing more than a trick, a slow poison that has kept you trapped in the same cycle for years. Your mind doesn't scream at you to stop. It whispers. It plants tiny thoughts that spread like a disease. It tells you to wait. It convinces you to take it easy. It makes you believe you need motivation before you can act. It keeps you distracted, comfortable, weak. And it does all of this so effortlessly that you don't even question it. You accept it as normal. You accept it as who you are. But if that were true, why are you here? Something inside you knows the truth. Something inside you is ready to fight back. Your thoughts are not your ally. They are not guiding you toward your best life. They are holding you hostage. You think doubt means you shouldn't move forward, but it only means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You think fear means danger, but it only means you are facing something unfamiliar. You think hesitation is your brain protecting you, but it is only weakness disguised as wisdom. The greatest enemy you will ever face is not outside of you. It is inside your own mind. Most people never win this battle. They lose every single day, not because the world is unfair, not because they lack talent, but because they never learn how to control their own thoughts. They let emotions run their lives. They allow fear to dictate their decisions. They obey the lazy voice inside them that always has an excuse. And in the end, they wake up one day realizing they have wasted their entire existence waiting for a moment that never came. You don't have to be one of them. You can take control. But it starts with a brutal truth. Your emotions are not reality. They feel real, they feel powerful, but they are just passing signals. They are not commands. If you obey them, you will always be weak. You will always be at the mercy of whatever mood you wake up in. Some days you will feel motivated and make progress. Other days you will feel tired and waste time. That is not strength. That is not freedom. That is the life of a slave, enslaved by the ups and downs of emotion, never truly in control. The solution is simple, but most people will never do it. Stop waiting to feel like it. Stop asking your emotions for permission. Stop negotiating with the weak version of yourself. You already know what needs to be done. Do it. If you let emotions decide your actions, you will never build the discipline you need to succeed. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled the Roman Empire, wrote a reminder to himself every morning. He told himself to rise and do the work of a human being. He reminded himself that it didn't matter if he felt tired, if he felt uninspired, if he felt unmotivated. The work still had to be done. If the most powerful man in the world at the time still had to fight against his own mind, what makes you think you don't? Most people spend their entire lives trying to control the things they cannot control. They obsess over the opinions of others. They stress about circumstances they cannot change. They worry about the past. They fear the future. They spend years fighting the wrong battles while completely ignoring the one thing they actually have power over, their own mind. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They mastered the ability to control their own thoughts. They didn't waste energy trying to change the outside world. They focused entirely on controlling their inner world because they knew that the way you see things is more powerful than the things themselves. The world does not make you suffer. Your perception of the world does. Epictetus, a man born into slavery who became one of the greatest philosophers in history, had one rule: never react immediately. Whenever something happened, he gave himself time before responding. He refused to let his emotions dictate his actions. This is what separates the weak from the strong. Weak people react. They get angry. They panic. They hesitate. Strong people pause, think, and then act from a place of control. If you want to win the battle against your own mind, you need to stop believing every thought that enters your head. Not every doubt is valid. Not every fear is real. Not every hesitation is logical. Your mind will feed you endless excuses disguised as reasoning. It will tell you that now is not the right time. It will convince you that you need more preparation. It will flood you with every possible reason to wait, to stay comfortable, to avoid risk. And if you listen, you will stay exactly where you are forever. The way to fight back is to create rules for yourself. You don't wake up and decide whether you feel like working today. You do it because it's what you said you would do. You don't let fear decide whether you take action. You move forward because you know fear is not real danger. You don't let laziness convince you to delay your goals. You act because you are not ruled by weakness. The moment you let emotions take a back seat and let discipline take over, you become something most people will never be: unshakable. The battle is won in the small moments. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you win. Every time you push through doubt instead of backing down, you win. Every time you act when your mind tells you to hesitate, you win. Every small victory adds up, and eventually you become someone who doesn't wait for motivation, who doesn't make excuses, who doesn't let fear slow them down. You have spent too much of your life letting your mind control you. But from this moment forward, you take control. You no longer wait for the perfect time. You no longer let feelings decide your actions. You no longer allow weakness to dictate your life. You do what needs to be done, no matter how you feel. And that is the moment you finally win. You already know the truth. Your mind has been working against you, feeding you doubt, hesitation, and fear. You have learned that you don't have to listen. You have learned that discipline must replace emotion. But what happens when life itself throws chaos in your face? When things fall apart? When the unexpected threatens everything you have built? This is where most people break. It is where they panic, collapse, and lose control. Not because the world is unfair, not because life is too hard, but because they never trained themselves to handle the storm. They spent their whole lives reacting, not realizing that strength is not about controlling the outside world. Strength is about controlling what happens inside you. There is a rare kind of person in this world, the kind that remains calm when others are falling apart, the kind that can stand in the middle of disaster, betrayal, loss, and failure and remain unmoved, the kind that never loses themselves, no matter what happens. They are not born this way. They train for it. They build themselves into it. They become unshakable. Most people believe that stress, fear, and anxiety come from what happens to them. They think the problem is the situation. They think the reason they are overwhelmed is because life is unfair, difficult, and chaotic. But that is a lie. The truth is far more uncomfortable. The problem is not what happens to you. The problem is how you see it. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, understood this better than anyone. He ruled during wars, plagues, and betrayals. He watched people he trusted turn against him. He buried his own children. He lived through challenges that would break the average person. But through it all, he never lost control. He never gave in to panic, to anger, to despair, because he knew something that most people never understand. You don't control events. You only control how you respond to them. This is the foundation of becoming unshakable. It is not about preventing bad things from happening. It is about training your mind to remain steady when they do. It is about eliminating the illusion that your suffering comes from external circumstances. The Stoics had a word for this: apatheia. It does not mean indifference in the way most people think. It means freedom from destructive emotions. It means nothing outside of you has the power to control what happens inside of you. This is not a natural state. It is not something you are born with. It is something you build, brick by brick, through training. The same way a body becomes strong by lifting heavier weights, a mind becomes strong by lifting heavier problems. Most people avoid difficulty. They run from hardship. They wish for an easy life. But the truth is, without resistance, there is no strength. If you avoid every challenge, your mind remains weak. If you run from discomfort, you will always be fragile. The Stoics did not wait for life to test them. They trained themselves in advance. They deliberately made life harder so that nothing could break them. Seneca, one of the richest men in Rome, would sleep on the floor in rags, even though he owned palaces. He would eat only the simplest foods, drink only water, and live as if he had nothing. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to prepare his mind. He wanted to prove to himself that even if he lost everything, he would still be in control. Most people think strength is built by success. It's not. Strength is built by removing your dependence on comfort. If your peace depends on everything going right, you will never have peace. If your confidence depends on people treating you well, you will never have confidence. If your happiness depends on avoiding struggle, you will never be happy. You must train yourself for hardship before it comes. You must remove the illusion that you need anything outside of yourself to be calm, strong, and in control. Every day, there is an opportunity to do this. You can start by making yourself uncomfortable on purpose. The next time you feel like avoiding something difficult, face it head on. The next time you feel irritation creeping in, stop and refuse to react. The next time you feel fear pushing you away from something, step forward instead of backward. The mind is a muscle. Every time you resist your emotions, every time you choose to act from reason instead of impulse, you strengthen it. Over time, you will notice something strange. Things that once bothered you will no longer affect you. Problems that once overwhelmed you will feel insignificant. You will become the kind of person who moves through chaos without losing their center. This is not detachment from life. It is mastery of life. It is not about pretending things don't matter. It is about knowing they cannot control you. People will betray you. Plans will fall apart. The world will not give you what you want. And yet, you will remain steady, because you will understand that you are the one in control, not the world around you. There is a moment before every reaction, a space between an event and your response. Most people don't see it. They react instantly. They get angry without thinking. They panic before understanding. They let emotions take over. But the person who masters that space, the person who pauses, observes, and then acts from reason instead of impulse, is untouchable. This is the secret to true power. The person who is controlled by their emotions is weak, no matter how strong they appear. The person who remains unmoved is powerful, no matter how much they have lost. The way to reach this level is by training yourself every single day. You must be ruthless in your discipline. You must reject the idea that peace comes from easy conditions. It comes from control over yourself. The world will test you. People will try to drag you into their problems. Life will throw unexpected chaos at you, but none of it has to move you. You have already trained for this. You have already decided that nothing outside of you will dictate what happens inside of you. You have already chosen to be unshakable. Most people live as victims of their circumstances. They believe their happiness depends on their situation. They think their stress is caused by external problems. They never realize that they have the power to change how they experience the world. The strongest people are not the ones who avoid difficulty. They are the ones who can stand in the middle of a storm and not flinch. Every single day, you have a choice. You can react like everyone else, letting emotions dictate your actions, giving power to things outside of you. Or you can train yourself to remain steady. You can build the kind of mind that cannot be shaken. This is not about shutting down emotions. It is about recognizing them for what they are, passing waves in an ocean that remains still underneath. Anger will come, fear will come, stress will come, but they do not have to control you. They do not have to own you. If you can train yourself to remain calm when things go wrong, if you can teach yourself to resist reacting on impulse, if you can build the discipline to choose your response instead of letting emotions decide for you, then you will have something most people never achieve: true freedom. This is how you become unshakable. This is how you build a mind that cannot be broken. And once you have this, nothing in the world will ever have power over you again. You already know the truth. Control over your mind is the only real power you will ever have. You have seen how people fall apart because they never trained themselves to remain steady. You have understood that nothing outside of you has the right to dictate your peace. But there is something else that has been controlling you without you realizing it. A lie so deeply embedded in society that most people live and die without questioning it. It is the idea that wealth, success, and status will bring you happiness. It is the illusion that if you just had more money, more possessions, more recognition, you would finally feel secure, finally feel free, finally feel enough. But if that were true, why do the richest people in the world still feel miserable? Why do celebrities with millions of dollars still fall into depression? Why do those who seem to have everything still feel empty? The world has trained you to believe that success is about accumulation. It has convinced you that if you don't have more, you are failing. It pushes you to chase things that will never satisfy you. And yet, no matter how much you acquire, the hunger never disappears. Because the problem was never that you didn't have enough. The problem was that you were chasing the wrong thing from the start. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, understood this better than anyone. He had more money than he could ever spend, more power than most could dream of, yet he saw through the illusion. He knew that real wealth had nothing to do with how much you owned. He said that the poorest person is not the one with little, but the one who always craves more. If you cannot be satisfied with what you have, no amount of money will ever change that. Most people believe that once they reach a certain number in their bank account, they will finally be at peace. But that number always moves. The house that once seemed like a dream becomes normal. The car that once felt like an achievement turns into just another possession. The lifestyle that once seemed fulfilling eventually feels empty. So they chase the next level, then the next, and they spend their entire lives running, never stopping to question whether they were running in the wrong direction all along. The problem is not money itself. Money is neutral. It is neither good nor bad. The problem is what people believe money will do for them. They think it will buy security, but no amount of money can protect you from death, disease, or misfortune. They think it will buy freedom, but in chasing wealth, they often become prisoners to it. They think it will buy happiness, but true happiness has never been something that can be purchased. Seneca trained himself to be wealthy without needing wealth. He practiced going without luxuries even when he had them. He would live as if he were poor, eating the simplest food, wearing the cheapest clothes, testing himself to see if he could be content with nothing. He knew that the less he needed, the less control the world had over him. This was true freedom, not having more, but needing less. Most people are owned by what they own. Their possessions control them. They fear losing their lifestyle. They stress over maintaining their status. They measure their worth by external success. But what kind of freedom is that? What kind of life is it to constantly be afraid of losing what you have worked for? If your peace depends on something that can be taken from you, then you are not free. You are a prisoner. Real wealth is not measured by what you own. It is measured by what you can live without. A man who needs nothing is richer than a king who fears losing his throne. A person who finds joy in simple things will always be happier than someone chasing luxury. The goal is not to reject money, but to master it, to use it as a tool rather than worship it as a god. People waste their lives climbing a ladder, only to realize at the top that it was leaning against the wrong wall. They sacrifice time, health, relationships, and peace for the sake of accumulation. They work endless hours to afford things they don't have time to enjoy. They spend their lives in stress, hoping that one day they will finally feel secure. But that day never comes, because security is not a number. It is a mindset. Seneca warned that people make themselves miserable chasing wealth because they do not understand what they are truly looking for. They do not want money itself. They want what they believe money will give them. But the truth is, the things they are searching for, peace, freedom, fulfillment, were never tied to money in the first place. They were always available to those who learned to live simply, who learned to be content with less, who understood that happiness is not a destination, but a way of thinking. There is nothing wrong with ambition. There is nothing wrong with success. But the moment your happiness becomes dependent on these things, you have lost control. The true test of wealth is not how much you own, but how little you need. The moment you realize that you could lose everything and still remain unshaken, you have found the kind of security that no bank account can provide. Most people spend their lives chasing goals that were never their own. They want the house because society told them to want it. They want the car because they were taught that success looks a certain way. They want the title, the status, the lifestyle, because they were programmed to believe that these things would give them meaning. But when they finally get them, they realize they still feel empty. they still feel restless, because they never stop to ask themselves what they actually wanted. The ones who are truly free are not the ones with the most. They are the ones who have learned to find joy in little. They are the ones who know that wealth is not about numbers, but about mindset. They are the ones who have trained themselves to be content with what they have, rather than constantly chasing what they do not. There is no greater wealth than needing nothing. When you detach from the illusion that success is about accumulation, you will feel a weight lift off your shoulders. You will stop comparing yourself to others. You will stop measuring your worth by external achievements. You will stop running a race that has no finish line. You will finally be able to breathe. True success is internal. It is knowing that no matter what happens, you are still in control. It is understanding that happiness was never in the things you were chasing, but in your ability to live fully in the present moment. It is seeing through the illusion of more and realizing that you already have enough. The greatest trick society ever played was convincing you that fulfillment comes from external success. The truth is, fulfillment comes from mastering yourself. The moment you stop looking outside for validation, for security, for meaning, you will realize that everything you have been searching for has always been within you. You do not need to escape poverty to be free. You need to escape the mindset that more will solve your problems. You do not need millions in the bank to feel wealthy. You need to train yourself to be content with what you have. The richest people in the world are not the ones with the most. They are the ones who have freed themselves from the need for more. This is what Seneca understood. This is what the Stoics lived by. And this is the truth that most people will never see. They will spend their entire lives chasing an illusion, believing that one day they will arrive at happiness. But the ones who truly win are the ones who realize they never had to chase anything at all. The real victory is not in gaining more, it is in needing less. The real power is not in controlling wealth, it is in making sure wealth never controls you. And the real freedom is not in escaping struggle, it is in mastering your mind so that no matter what happens, you are already at peace. This is how you become truly rich. This is how you take back control. And this is how you finally win. You have already freed yourself from the illusion that more will bring happiness. You now understand that real wealth is not about what you own, but about how little you need. You have seen how people waste their entire lives chasing goals that never mattered. But there is one final trap that still holds most people captive: the weight of time itself. Every person who has ever lived has been haunted by the same question: what if? It is the thought that creeps into the mind late at night. It is the quiet whisper that follows failure, hesitation, and lost opportunities. It is the regret that builds over years, one small decision at a time, until one day a person wakes up and realizes that their time is almost gone. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens a person can carry. It is the pain of knowing that something could have been different, that a chance was missed, that fear, laziness, or distraction stole something that can never be recovered. People try to ignore it, push it away, or pretend it doesn't matter. But deep down, they feel it. They wonder what their lives would have been like if they had been stronger, braver, more disciplined. And the worst part? By the time most people fully understand what they should have done, it is already too late. The Stoics refused to let this happen to them. They had a method, a way of bending time to their advantage, a mental exercise that allowed them to gain the wisdom of old age without having to waste decades learning it the hard way. They trained themselves to think ahead, to see the future before it arrived, to step into their own final days and ask themselves a question that would cut through all the noise. What will I wish I had done differently? Most people think of time as a straight line. They believe they must move forward blindly, making mistakes, collecting regrets, and only gaining wisdom at the very end. But that is not how it has to be. The mind is not bound by time. It is capable of stepping ahead, looking back, and returning with answers. It is capable of learning from the future before it becomes the past. This is the power of future self-meditation. It is the ability to sit in silence, push your mind forward to the end of your life, and meet the person you will one day become. It is the ability to ask that version of yourself what they regret, what they wish they had done differently, what they would give anything to change if only they had the chance. And it is the ability to take that knowledge and use it right now, while there is still time. Most people never do this. They live without thinking ahead. They waste time as if they will always have more. They make small, meaningless choices every day, never realizing that those choices are shaping their future. They assume they will have another chance, another opportunity, another tomorrow. But one day, they won't. One day, they will wake up and realize that the things they thought were small were actually the most important decisions of their lives. The Stoics understood that the key to avoiding regret was not to wait until it was too late. It was to see it before it arrived and change course while there was still a chance. Seneca wrote that people waste so much time worrying about things that do not matter, chasing distractions, and postponing what is truly important. He said that a person should live each day as if it were their last, not in the reckless, foolish way that many misunderstand it, but in a way that ensures nothing is left undone. The way to master this is simple, but most will never do it. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. Let yourself drift to the end of your life. Picture yourself old, with nothing left to chase, no time left to waste. Ask yourself one question: what do I wish I had done differently? The answers will come faster than you expect. You will know immediately what you have been avoiding. You will see every moment where fear held you back. You will remember every excuse that kept you from taking action. That knowledge is a gift. Most people only receive it when they can no longer change anything. But you have it now. You have the ability to rewrite your future while there is still time. Every regret that future version of you has does not have to become your reality. Every mistake they wish they could undo can be corrected today. The past is unchangeable. The future is still yours to create. People always say that hindsight is 20/20. They talk about how they would have done things differently if they had known what they know now. But what if you could make hindsight work in advance? What if you could learn from the wisdom of your older self before it was too late? This is what the Stoics mastered. They did not wait for time to teach them its harsh lessons. They forced themselves to see the end before they arrived at it. They used their future regrets as a tool to sharpen their present decisions. This exercise strips away every illusion. It shows what truly matters and what does not. It reveals how much time has been wasted on things that mean nothing. It exposes the ways people allow fear, laziness, and comfort to rob them of a meaningful life. And once you see it clearly, there is no going back. You either take action or you knowingly allow yourself to walk toward the regret you could have prevented. There is another reason why the Stoics did this. They knew that the ultimate fear, the thing that haunts most people, is death itself. They knew that most avoid thinking about it, pretend it is far away, act as if it does not apply to them. But the truth is, ignoring death does not change its reality. It only makes a person unprepared for it. The Stoics did the opposite. They thought about death daily. They reminded themselves constantly that their time was limited. They understood that facing mortality directly was not depressing. It was liberating. Most live in denial, pretending that they have endless time. But those who embrace the truth of their mortality see life differently. They do not delay things that matter. They do not waste time on meaningless distractions. They do not let fear stop them because they understand that in the end, fear does not matter. The only thing that matters is whether they truly lived. The paradox is that thinking about death makes life richer. Those who accept their own mortality waste less time. They stop postponing the things they truly want. They stop worrying about trivial nonsense. They stop being afraid of failure because they realize that the greatest failure is never truly living at all. The power of this realization is unmatched. The moment you deeply understand that one day you will take your last breath, everything changes. The things that once seemed important lose their grip on you. The small fears that held you back feel ridiculous. The arguments, the insecurities, the stress, it all fades into nothing when compared to the reality that life is slipping away. The Stoics used this as a weapon. They did not fear death. They used it as motivation. They saw every day as a gift, every decision as a chance to shape the future while there was still time. They did not waste time on things that did not serve them. They focused entirely on what mattered because they knew the clock was ticking. Most will never do this. They will continue to live as if they have forever. They will avoid thinking about regret, about mortality, about the reality of time slipping through their fingers. They will only wake up when it is too late. But those who have the courage to face this truth now, while there is still time, will live differently. They will make decisions with clarity. They will stop procrastinating. They will stop allowing fear to control them. They will stop giving their time to things that do not matter. There is no greater clarity than seeing your life from the perspective of its end. There is no greater motivation than realizing you are running out of time. The Stoics understood that those who live without thinking of the future are always doomed to regret it. But those who force themselves to step ahead, to look back while they still have time to change, will live with no regrets. The greatest gift you can give yourself is wisdom before it is too late. The knowledge of your future self is available to you now. The question is, will you listen? You have already faced the truth. You know that time is slipping away, that regret is the most dangerous trap, and that the only way to avoid it is to act now. But there is something else standing in your way, something that has been shaping your life from the moment you were born. Adversity. It comes in many forms: setbacks, failures, losses, betrayals, struggles that feel impossible to overcome. Most people see these things as enemies. They resist them, complain about them, try to avoid them. But what if everything you thought about struggle was wrong? What if the things you have spent your life trying to escape are actually the very things that will set you free? The reason most people never reach their full potential is not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. It is because they see hardship as a curse instead of a teacher. They spend their lives running from pain, searching for an easier path, hoping that one day everything will just fall into place. But that day never comes. The people who succeed are not the ones who avoid struggle. They are the ones who embrace it, use it, and grow stronger from it. The Stoics had a name for this mindset: amor fati. It means to love fate. Not just accept it, not just endure it, but to love it completely. To see everything that happens, not just the good, but the bad, the painful, the unfair, as necessary, as fuel, as the raw material from which strength is built. This is what separates those who are broken by adversity from those who are forged by it. Most people believe that success means removing obstacles, making life easier, reaching a place where everything is comfortable. But real success, real power, real greatness comes from hardship. The greatest minds in history were not shaped by easy lives. They were hardened by difficulty. They were beaten down, knocked over, tested by life in ways most people could never endure. And instead of complaining, instead of resisting, they used it. They took every setback and turned it into an advantage. They took every loss and turned it into knowledge. They took every failure and turned it into experience. Adversity is not your enemy. It is your training. It is the thing sharpening you, preparing you, forcing you to become more than you were before. The greatest mistake you can make is to wish for an easy life. Nothing great has ever come from comfort. Growth does not happen when things are easy. Strength is not built in the absence of struggle. A mind that is never challenged will never become resilient. A person who has never been tested will never know what they are truly capable of. Marcus Aurelius, who spent his life leading Rome through wars, plagues, and betrayals, understood this better than anyone. He wrote to himself daily, reminding himself that obstacles are not barriers, they are the way forward. Whatever stands in the way becomes the way. Whatever blocks your path is not something to run from, but something to use. If you are facing a challenge, it means you are exactly where you need to be. The only question is whether you will fight against it or whether you will use it to become stronger. Every hardship is a lesson disguised as pain. The reason most people suffer is not because life is unfair, but because they refuse to learn from what happens to them. They complain about their circumstances instead of adapting to them. They resist difficulty instead of allowing it to shape them. They see obstacles as problems instead of opportunities. But the moment you shift your mindset, the moment you decide to love whatever happens, the world changes. You are no longer at the mercy of fate. You are in control because you have chosen to see every challenge as fuel. This is not just about enduring difficulty. Endurance is not enough. It is about transforming it. If something is taken from you, see it as a lesson in detachment. If you lose, see it as an opportunity to improve. If someone betrays you, see it as a way to become wiser. If a door closes, see it as a chance to find a better one. There is nothing that can happen to you that cannot be turned into an advantage. The only thing that decides whether you grow or break is your response. The modern world has taught people to avoid struggle at all costs. Everything is built around comfort, convenience, and ease. People panic at the first sign of difficulty because they have never been trained to handle it. But avoiding hardship only makes you weaker. The Stoics trained themselves to be strong by deliberately seeking discomfort. They would practice going without luxuries, enduring cold, hunger, exhaustion, not because they had to, but because they understood that if they could be comfortable with discomfort, nothing could break them. Strength is not something you are born with. It is something you build, and the only way to build it is through hardship. Every challenge, every loss, every failure is an opportunity. It is an invitation to become someone who cannot be broken. But most people refuse the invitation. They see adversity as something unfair, something to be avoided, something to escape from, and in doing so, they remain weak. The ones who understand this truth are unstoppable. They do not waste time complaining about things they cannot change. They do not panic when things go wrong. They do not break when life tests them, because they have already decided that nothing is against them. They have chosen to believe that everything that happens is exactly what was meant to happen, not just the good, but the bad, not just the victories, but the losses, not just the easy moments, but the suffering. They love all of it, because all of it is making them stronger. This is how you become anti-fragile. Fragile things break under pressure. Resilient things withstand pressure. But anti-fragile things become stronger under pressure. They do not just endure hardship, they grow because of it. This is what the Stoics trained for. They understood that if you can reach a point where setbacks no longer weaken you, but instead make you better, you have won. Nothing can stop you, because even losing makes you stronger. Most people will never understand this. They will continue to complain about their problems, to wish for an easier life, to see adversity as something unfair, and they will remain weak. But the ones who embrace this truth, the ones who take every difficulty as an opportunity to grow, will rise above everyone else. They will not fear hardship. They will not panic when things go wrong. They will not break under pressure, because they have chosen to love everything that happens, knowing that it is all fuel for their growth. There is no such thing as failure if you use it correctly. There is no such thing as loss if you take the lesson. There is no such thing as misfortune if you decide that everything serves a purpose. The greatest strength in the world is the ability to turn every setback into an advantage. This is not about positive thinking. It is not about pretending bad things are good. It is about recognizing that bad things happen, and instead of resisting them, using them. It is about training yourself to see opportunity in everything. The person who can do this will never be a victim of life. They will never feel powerless. They will never be afraid of struggle, because they know that struggle is the only way forward. The moment you decide that adversity is your ally, everything changes. You will no longer hesitate when faced with difficulty. You will no longer fear failure. You will no longer complain about your circumstances, because you will understand that everything is training. Every hardship is another step toward becoming unbreakable. Every loss is another lesson that makes you wiser. Every challenge is another opportunity to grow. This is how you take control of your life. This is how you stop fearing struggle. This is how you become someone who cannot be stopped. The ones who understand this truth do not need motivation. They do not wait for things to go their way. They do not fear failure, because they know that every single thing that happens, good or bad, is fuel. And when you reach that level, there is nothing in the world that can defeat you. You already know how to use adversity as fuel. You have seen that struggle is not an enemy, but a teacher, that setbacks are not roadblocks, but stepping stones. But there is one final opponent that most people refuse to face, the one force that has controlled human behavior more than anything else: death. It is the shadow that follows every decision, the unspoken fear behind hesitation, the reason people cling to comfort, avoid risk, and live smaller lives than they were meant to. Most will spend their lives pretending it doesn't exist. They push it away, avoid the thought, distract themselves with routines and trivial concerns. But avoidance does not erase reality. The clock is still running. Every breath is one less. Every second that passes is one that will never return. The question is not whether death is coming. It is. The only question is whether you will use that truth to make yourself unstoppable, or whether you will waste your time pretending it is not there. The Stoics had no patience for denial. They did not flinch in the face of death, nor did they ignore it. They looked it straight in the eye. They practiced something that most today would consider morbid or depressing, yet it made them the most powerful minds in history. They meditated on death daily. They reminded themselves that they could die at any moment, not to live in fear, but to remove fear entirely. Because when you truly accept death, when you let it settle into your bones, you are no longer controlled by it. Most people hesitate in life not because they don't know what to do, but because they are afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of making the wrong decision. But beneath all of that, the real fear is of time running out before they have lived the way they were meant to. They avoid risks because they believe they have forever. They waste time because they assume they will always have more. They let fear win because they do not fully grasp the truth, that one day they will take their last breath, and when that moment comes, all of their excuses will mean nothing. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, would tell himself daily, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He did not say this to scare himself. He said it to sharpen himself, to make sure that every action was intentional, to remind himself that there was no time to waste on things that did not matter. Seneca, another great Stoic, wrote letters to his friends reminding them that death was not something in the future. It was happening now. Every second that passed was another piece of life gone, another step closer to the end. He saw people complaining about their problems, their small inconveniences, their temporary discomforts, and he wondered, how could they not see? How could they not realize that these things were meaningless in the face of their own mortality? Most people live as if they are immortal. They act as if they have an unlimited supply of time. But the moment you stop lying to yourself, the moment you truly accept that you will die, your entire perspective shifts. You stop hesitating. You stop caring about things that do not matter. You stop waiting for the right moment, because you understand that there is no right moment. There is only now. This is why meditating on death makes a person unstoppable. It removes every excuse. It eliminates hesitation. It makes fear irrelevant. If you knew that today was your last, would you waste time worrying about meaningless problems? Would you hold back from doing what you know you need to do? Would you allow fear to stop you from taking action? Death is the ultimate clarifier. It strips life down to its core, revealing what actually matters. People spend years chasing status, wealth, approval. Yet when they are on their deathbeds, none of it matters. No one regrets not buying more things. No one wishes they had spent more time impressing others. The only regrets people have are the moments they held back, the chances they did not take, the life they were too afraid to live. The Stoics knew that the greatest waste in life is not in losing money, possessions, or opportunities. It is in living without awareness. It is in spending years in distraction, in routines that do not matter, in relationships that do not bring meaning, in pursuits that do not align with who you truly are. And then one day, it is over. The chance to live fully is gone. The only way to prevent this is to remind yourself every day that death is not far away, not in a distant future, not something to think about when you are old, but something that is always just a breath away. This is not meant to create anxiety. It is meant to create urgency. It is meant to wake you up from the illusion that you can afford to waste time. There is a power that comes with accepting mortality, The moment you stop avoiding it, you start living differently. You stop overthinking. You stop delaying things that matter. You stop allowing fear to make your decisions. Instead, you move with purpose. You take action. You speak truthfully. You refuse to let distractions steal what little time you have left. This is why the Stoics linked death to extreme focus. When you truly grasp that life is short, you no longer waste energy on things that do not contribute to your growth. You cut out meaningless distractions. You remove toxic people. You stop wasting time on trivial things. You start prioritizing what is actually important. Most people live in a scattered, unfocused way. They allow themselves to be pulled in every direction. They worry about opinions, obsess over failures, stress over things they cannot control. But the moment you realize that time is your most valuable resource, all of that disappears. You become sharp. You become clear. You stop chasing things that do not serve you. The greatest fear people have is not death itself. It is reaching the end and realizing they never truly lived. It is looking back and seeing that they let fear, hesitation, and distraction rob them of the life they could have had. The only way to prevent this is to confront it now, to remind yourself every single day that you will not be here forever. The modern world avoids this truth. It does everything it can to hide death from sight, to make people forget that time is limited. Everything is built around comfort, convenience, numbing distractions. People are trained to think they have unlimited time. They are encouraged to waste it, to delay what matters, to assume that they can always do things later. But later is a lie. Later is how people reach the end of their lives full of regrets. The Stoics did not allow themselves to live in this illusion. They faced death head-on, and because of that, they lived with intensity. They did not waste time. They did not let fear win. They did not concern themselves with trivial nonsense. They were not waiting for the perfect time to start living. They lived fully, every single day, because they understood something most people never do. Death is not the enemy. It is the reason life has meaning. Most will never have the courage to look at their own mortality. They will continue to act as if they have forever, continue to delay the things that truly matter, and in the end, they will wonder where their life went. But the ones who accept this truth, who use it, who let it sharpen them, will live differently. They will make decisions with clarity. They will move with urgency. They will not let small fears stop them. The moment you stop avoiding death, you become free. Free from hesitation, free from distraction, free from the fear that keeps most people small. Because when you fully understand that your time is limited, you start living in a way that ensures no second is wasted. This is how you become unstoppable. This is how you remove all fear. This is how you finally take full control of your life. The only question left is, will you do it now, while there is still time? Everything you needed was already inside you. Now you see the truth most people ignore. Your mind has been your greatest enemy, feeding doubt, fear, and hesitation. But now you know discipline overrules emotion, struggle is fuel, and real wealth isn't about money, it's about needing less. You've faced regret before it happens. You've confronted death, not to fear it, but to use it as motivation. The only question left is, will you act, or will this just be another thing you forget? Prove you were paying attention. Comment below with the one lesson that hit you hardest, the one thing you can no longer ignore. And if you're ready to keep training your mind for strength, subscribe. This is not for entertainment. It's for those who refuse to live on autopilot. If that's you, stay. There's more to learn. Now stop watching, start acting.